What are we going to talk about?
Should we talk about impermanence?
Yeah.
Or Anicca?
Sure. What is Anicca?
That's a good start. So, I guess my first translation, my first word would be not permanent. But then that needs lots of qualification, what that means.
Yeah.
So, something that's not permanent is of the nature to change. Because something which is permanent doesn't change.
Is such a thing conceivable?
Of something being, well, I think people can think, okay, this is...
No, they can assume.
Yeah.
But if you had to stop and think about it, can you give example of something that's not subject to change?
Well, no, but I mean, so for instance, people might say, "Oh, impermanence means everything's changing." That doesn't change.
Yeah.
For them.
Yeah. Which is why they're not seeing impermanence.
Yeah.
But is there a but?
No, I think so. I think I would. You said is.
So what is Anicca?
Conceivable. So Anicca would be. The way I see it would be. So this having the nature of change. So. So the Buddha says things like, is matter, feeling, perception of the aggregates, the eye, the body, whatever, is that Anicca or Anicca? Is it permanent, as in they don't change, or are they of the nature to change? So, the problem with what I'm saying, we've already talked about this, is that then you have to be very careful about what we mean by change.
Oh yeah. But there's a problem before that as well, which is, it's not things are subject to change. That's not the question the Buddha asks.
No.
It refers to the sankharas. Are sankharas impermanent? Are sankharas subjected to change?
That which determines
the things.
Yeah.
Things that you take it to be yours, things that you are. So, in order then to arrive at the level where Anicca applies, you need to reverse the order and you need to follow the right order. So, if the Buddha's question or statement, Sabbe Sankhara Anicca, not Sabbe Dhamma Anicca, Sabbe Sankhara Anicca, Sabbe Sankhara Dukkha, Sabbe Dhamma Anatta. So if a starting point of Putujana is Sabbe Dhamma Atta, all things are me and myself, or for myself. I might not go around saying I own everything, but I could own things if they come along and I want to own them. So you imply a possibility of ownership, which is a possibility, has implicit a possibility of pleasure, satisfaction, everlasting permanence, or whatever else you want to translate it. So now that's your starting attitude. That's a starting attitude of somebody who wants to practice. You can now understand Anicca on this intellectual level because you don't know where that level is correctly. So you can certainly collect information about it through reading suttas and so on, but in order to understand Anicca, it only can be understood on the level of sankhara, not on the level of the dhammas that you regard as yours. So how do you then arrive at the level of sankharas? Because if you just attend to it, this is impermanent, that's another dhamma.
So
sankharas are, how do we describe them before? Did we describe them before at all? I thought we spoke about it. No,
Yeah, we did.
it was about meditation.
Yeah,
Yeah. Calming your sankharas and whatnot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
We did,
Yeah.
and so we're talking about that which determines your sense of self.
Yeah. So the necessary basis for yourself, the way you know yourself. So for the necessary basis for your sense of self, necessary basis for your ownership, for your identity, necessary basis for your actions, for your choices, for your management techniques, necessary basis for practice as well, if seen correctly. So and that's what impermanence is. So unless you're seeing impermanence on that, like indirectly, on the necessary basis for this which I am attending to, you're not seeing impermanence. You're just sort of pasting it over as a kind of attitude. They will then cancel and deny everything, and by doing so also deny any problem that you might have. So everything is impermanent, everything will come to pass, thus doesn't matter that I suffer right now. Well, it matters, otherwise you wouldn't be going around saying everything shall pass. Why are you saying that if nothing bothers you to begin with? Why do you care whether it passes or not?
Because you want your pain
because
to go
you
away.
want it to go away, exactly, yeah. Means you're not seeing impermanence, because you're looking at the wrong level. You're looking at the level of things and dhammas and observable things you can attend and so on. That's where you expect to see impermanence. It can only be discerned peripherally on the level of the basis of things that make this possible. So, if I'm looking at things now, hearing things now, I like them, I dislike them, I want more of this, I don't want any of this. Where is impermanence in regard to that experience? Or where are the sankharas in regard to that experience?
I'd say like at the level, like at the sort of experience as a whole.
Where is that?
Well, not so much
in relation like to what I'm looking, hearing, seeing, thinking.
The peripheral, the kind of like the.
So they're indirect to my direction of attention.
Yeah.
But how would you then describe them? Those indirect things. What would be the unifying basis?
Feeling.
Feeling. Okay. Yeah. So the present enduring feeling that you were not the creator of, it can already be a sankhara.
Yeah.
Depending whether you're acting out of that feeling towards projected things and so on.
I guess if it's seen properly, then that's what feeling is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that.
What's another thing that can also serve as a recognition of the level of sankhara?
Sense of self.
Well, no, slightly more.
Okay.
More palpable.
More palpable. Body.
Body. Exactly. Can you see, hear, taste, touch? Argue on account of it. Agree on account of it. Think about it. If your body is not there alive on its own beforehand.
No.
And that's so now we see. So my body is here.
Now
what you're looking again, what you're seeing is your sight. What you're hearing is basically your ears.
Yeah.
Which means that's not now that body because of which I can see, hear, taste, touch.
Yeah.
You failing to see that is you maintaining the attitude that eye can see itself.
Yeah.
Ears can hear itself, and that is inconceivable even to a Putujana if he stops and thinks about it.
Yeah. Even the existentialist philosophers knew that.
Exactly. So sankhara then, that is of the nature to change, is on that level which you cannot directly attend to. Yeah. You cannot observe impermanence. Look, impermanent, because that means it's out there. It's already projected. It allows you to not take it personally. If you understand impermanence on the right level, you cannot not be affected by it on the emotional level. That's why sabbe sankhara anicca, sabbe sankhara dukkha. So all of the determinations are unpleasant because of that. Not sometimes like this, sometimes like that, sometimes they could be pleasant, sometimes no. Always all of them unpleasant because always all of them remain subjected to that nature of abrupt change.
Basically, they've been thrust upon you. You've been subjected to them.
You're always secondary to them. You're always contained within them. So if you look for impermanence in things you can see, hear, taste, smell, taste, touch, and so on, you're not going to find it. And that's exactly how people then fall into a view of, oh yeah, look, the modern science says that everything is constantly changing. That's what the Buddha meant. So does the science make you Sotapanna? Does the science free you from sensuality and suffering? No, not even close.
No. And why?
Yet here you are, holding a view that you understood impermanence that the Buddha was teaching.
And why does the Buddha talk so much about mindfulness of feeling, mindfulness of the body?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the way to discern.
See it
anicca.
Peripherally, where you can discern the anicca.
Yeah.
Because if you attend to it directly, something else determines what you're attending at. That's how attention works. in order for you to attend something, needs to be given as that possibility. And anicca is on the level of the possibilities, the level of the nature, subjected to, and so on.
So would you say that's Yoniso Manasikara, one of the conditions?
Yeah, of course,
the arising
absolutely,
right view?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yoniso Manasikara is recognition of the peripheral in regard to my direct attention. What I'm looking at, and now I'm discerning other things without needing to move and look at them directly, because then that would be actual and something else is peripheral.
Yeah. So it's attending to the kind of origin from which these things are what I'm attending to.
Discerning the origin.
What did I say?
Attending.
Okay, yeah, sorry, okay, yeah, that's
That would be attention attending to itself.
Yeah.
I
Just
seeing itself.
Sort of recognise, discerning what the sort of origin from which whatever it is I'm attending to is what it is, can be understood.
And origin meaning the necessary basis that still has to be there.
Yeah.
Like, would you be able to continue seeing getting elated on account of your sights, depressed on account of your sights, indifferent on account of your sights, if your eyes are still not there enduring?
Yeah.
Would that be even conceivable?
Absolutely not.
So now, while I'm seeing, while I'm looking at these things, I have the knowledge that all of this actually is present because my eyes are still there, and all the possibilities that I were to engage on account of my sights would be because these eyes are still there. And that's what impermanence is, on the level of that knowledge of these eyes are still there as a necessary basis for any movement towards them, against them, both, neither, whichever way, I want, I don't want, is because the eyes are still there.
Yeah.
That's it. Can you conceive, can you even imagine to be in control of the eye organ in a sense of to prevent it from being subjected to accidents, for example?
No.
Like you can protect, but only with the extent of hope that it will work.
Yeah.
You can never imagine for sure and feel that 100% safety.
Even like, you know, the level of control that you might feel, like I can close my eyes now, but it might not work or something. You never, you know, like, or
they might stop working internally.
Yeah,
your nerves might give up, something might happen, and you lose your sight.
Just an explosion in the
eye.
Yeah,
exactly. Or your heart might stop.
Yeah.
Will your eyes be able to remain?
Yeah.
If the rest of the body as a unit gets discarded? No.
Yeah.
So not ignoring that then, or rather ignoring that, is how you then fail to see where that impermanence is.
Yeah.
And even when you come to practice Buddhism, you are then sort of, impermanent, but none of that undermines my sense of self.
Yeah.
But impermanence, anicca, the way the Buddha described it, together will be felt as dukkha, and they will automatically have to undermine your sense of atta.
So the thing about these sankharas is that their very nature is to change, but that change is like this sort of like abrupt change.
Yeah. Well, let's talk on the basis of an example right here, right now. So this entire conversation, from your point of view, is fully enclosed within the necessary, enduring presence of your living body.
My body, okay. Yeah.
If you start dying right away now, that's it.
Yeah.
The conversation cannot possibly remain.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about it cannot remain. What you were about to say, what you said, none of that can remain. Because the necessary basis is removed. So, what is that necessary basis subject to?
Well,
how would you describe its characteristics?
Say change, but let's just say a bit more. Like it's like.
Are you in control?
No, that's the thing. I wanted to say I've been subjected to the fact that of this body, like I can only kind of discern it as already enduring on its own,
given to you,
given
so
to me, enduring on its own.
Yeah.
It's kind of my recognition of it is secondary to that thing being there.
And it's exactly that, the sense that things are for me, given to me.
Yeah.
Like literally wake up in this world and things are there, accessible, so to speak. That's why we assume them to be ours.
Yeah.
That's why you need to go against that grain and start questioning that which is given to you. What are the properties of having something given to you.
That it could be taken away.
Can be taken away. That you did not create it.
Yeah.
That you did not have say in its making.
All I can do is kind of borrow it.
Use it.
Yeah, you make use of it. Yeah. But like, just like as the fact that its arising is kind of abrupt, in the sense that I kind of.
Well, you were presented with it.
Yeah,
that's it.
So it can also be taken away.
Its nature remains well outside of your control, outside of the scope. Why? Because you haven't created it. That's the main thing.
Uncontrollable.
And see, if that would be clear, if people would maintain that clarity on that level in regard to their actions, there will be much less ignorance, much less passion, much less anger to undo. But see that you were given, you borrowed basically, you found this there, you couldn't see any other owner, so you assumed yourself to be an owner of it. That's it. And the only reason you're still able to maintain that sense of ownership is because you don't dwell long enough, sufficiently enough, on the nature of that which is necessary for your ownership. Like, can you say, I am the owner, master, controller of my properties, if you have no properties, if all of your possessions were taken away?
No.
Exactly. So the only way then to maintain the notion, I am my own, I am myself, and so on, is to then maintain that possessions as yours. And the only way you'll be able to maintain that is because you don't keep thinking how they actually are, possessions. So, I am such and such because of things I own. Because of that I do this, I do that, I want more of this, I want more of that. So already possessions determine you as such, and the Buddha said it himself. It's similar to a king. If he doesn't have king's possessions, he wouldn't be deemed a king.
So you're taking possession of the things is sort of secondary to those things already being there.
Exactly.
Of their own accord.
Exactly. So, and you will maintain
so my sense
that
of self is dependent, is like fully enclosed within and dependent on.
Fully, yeah.
This thing which I have.
So you could see how gratuitous then the sense of ownership is, whereby you know that you didn't create these things, your possessions. You only possess them because they were given as possessables, so to speak. Yet that somehow led you to maintain a view, a belief, that you are master controller, who comes first, who is in charge of all of this. Yet there would be none of this, nor me, master controller, if there are no things that I can exercise my control over. What is the nature of those things you can exercise your control over?
That they are of the nature to change, they're uncontrollable,
they're actually completely inaccessible to you. You cannot conceive inside of them because you are within them, so to speak. So you can't conceive outside of them. Any relationship you have, it's going to be a relationship on the level of them being given to you beforehand.
Secondary to them.
So your body, you can talk, you can move, you can drink water, you can look, so you can use your senses because you're fully enclosed within them. And while you're using these senses in the careless manner, you're maintaining the notion that you are the owner, user of these senses, they are mine. I'm not because senses are there beforehand, senses are there because I am. And that's a completely gratuitous perversion of the right order. You are because you keep taking things to be mine. And you can only take things to be mine when you don't see those determinations as impermanent. So you are because you take determinations to be mine. And you take them to be mine because they're not felt unpleasantly. And they're not felt unpleasantly because you don't see them as subjected to change. Or rather, you ignore the fact that they always remain subjected to change, and that is inconceivable for you to control or have say in. Thus, you're going to share the same nature of what they are subjected to.
So again, it's like seeing the danger or not seeing the danger in the things that you appropriate.
Exact appropriation. So if you want to start contemplating impermanence, you can't do it. Look, that door is impermanent. That cup is impermanent. First, you have to find your sense of ownership. As in, take something that is dear to you. Something that, if it were taken away, you will not necessarily remain emotionally indifferent. And then work through that basis to undo that appropriation. Don't just take things you don't care about. Find things you care about and then start applying the same attitude of, I don't care about this.
Like
to the point of I'm indifferent emotionally in regard to this, because I know it cannot be mine even if I want it to be mine.
Is that like that's why like feeling would be. This feeling is something that
it's inseparably.
I can't possibly
that's
be
why
indifferent towards.
Yeah. That's why if it's felt pleasantly, it's because you haven't seen it subjected to change.
Yeah.
So if you start seeing it as, oh, this is subject to change, as in it's not changing.
Yeah.
It's subject to change.
Yeah.
Means it could change, and I cannot possibly conceive that. Means it will change. You kind of already know that.
That's on it. That's its nature.
That's its nature. Yeah.
What it is to be this thing.
The only way to deal with it is to ignore it.
The only way to deal with it.
For a Buddhist is to ignore it.
To ignore the fact that it's
the only way to
change.
deal with the unpleasantness
of
things being subjected to change.
Yeah. Is to
ignore it. Hence, ignorance that's why it's the most fundamental. The distraction, delusion, and so on. It's an active choice you make. I choose to look away from this. I choose to ignore this, because not ignoring it undermines my whole being. So if your body right here, right now, is subject to an abrupt change.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it's changing a little bit or much on different levels that you can observe. What matters is that it's in its nature.
Yeah.
That nature is of a subject to change.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you're about to do on account of the body, anything you've done on account of the body, anything you're doing on account of your body being here, can that be otherwise? Can that share a different nature?
No.
Can they partake in a different nature? Can they partake in greater independence than the basis that's necessary for it?
No, because it's fully dependent on that.
It's just fully dependent on it. So the only way to maintain that picture is to keep investing effort to maintain it. Effort to ignore what is the necessary basis for my whole existence inherently subjected to, and what helps you ignoring is sensual desire, anger, distraction, acting out of these three things, engaging with things that will kind of occupy your mind, so you don't think about, so you don't start feeling this threat of the nature of change. Why do you think that people start feeling anxious after they endure boredom for a while, when they don't give in to any distraction, any sensuality? They're left alone, lock themselves up. You first start getting bored, but then their boredom starts to become serious. That's getting serious. So you're not looking at the computer, you're not watching TV, you're not reading books, you're just sitting with yourself. It feels like you're beginning to drown in anxiety and so on. Why do you think that is? Because the entire existence is just to keep you floating away from admitting that. Because naturally, if you then start just being with yourself and not investing effort in maintenance of this distraction that helps you ignore, you're going to start to feel dukkha on account of being completely in utter non-control of your own sense of control. Or any sense of control you can do is completely secondary, completely within, completely enclosed by non-control. So it's almost like a recognition that while you're alive, you recognize you're actually buried alive. How would that feel? You're still alive. What's the problem? What's the problem? You have air to breathe in a coffin, but it's like 6 kilometers radius of earth all around you. You're so deep. Means you can't get out. So how would that feel?
Awful.
And why? Why would it feel awful? It's not directly threatening, isn't it?
No, it's true.
You're still alive.
Because
You can still breathe. What's the issue then?
Because you're still wanting that control, which feels like it's been taken away from you. So you're basically still assuming control.
Yeah, the fear, the dread you would feel in such a situation would be the directly corresponding to the discrepancy you created with your own assumption of it. The assumption being external to this coffin. And so imagine now, when actually that is the reality. You are, as the Buddha said, the 4 mountains are squeezing us. and it's inconceivable that you can, go over them or avoid them or evade them.
Yeah.
Inconceivable.
Yeah.
You're gonna get crushed, like literally. You will always remain the inside of that to the point where you won't be because of it.
Yeah. So basically, that first.
That's first. So
That's
you are actually
Yeah.
your existence, anyone's existence. It's closer to being completely in a coffin, as in you cannot conceive the outside of this body, the outside of these senses, the outside of these thoughts, so to speak. Yet, here I am, maintaining a notion that I'm master controller in regard to them, they obey me, I want this, I don't want that, I choose this, I choose that. So that is the starting point. But if you realize then, so it's not about denying your control, I have no control over myself. No, it's just putting it in perspective. Perspective being that no amount of your control, no amount of your possessions, no amount of your ownership, no amount of your satisfaction through sensuality can ever put you outside of the senses, outside of the given body, outside of the coffin basically that you're buried in.
Yeah.
Why do you think the Buddha said it's like the existence is like constantly being like a flayed cow being eaten by insects from any direction. There's absolutely nowhere that it can rest. Whether it sits, stands, walks, so that's it. You can still do all this. You can move around. You can turn around in your coffin.
Yeah.
You can breathe. You can think. You can sing. You can do what you like in a coffin.
Yeah.
And often, actually, people's existence is not that different. Things you do is just scratch an immediate itch, eat when I'm bored, sleep when I want to sleep, distract myself. All that you can do in a coffin. Why is one frightening, one isn't?
Why is one person frightened and another not?
No, why is one recognition frightening, the other one isn't? Like if you take that you are enclosed first, that is frightening. But if you don't take that first, that's not frightening. Although you go about doing the same thing.
Oh, I see. Because you're ignoring.
No, but why is it frightening?
Why is it frightening to take that being in a coffin first? Because that undermines your assumption that you are in control.
And why is that assumption then there, that you are in control?
Well, it's gratuitous.
Yeah. Beginningless, but completely, utterly gratuitous.
So I guess why it's there to avoid the pain.
Yeah, sure.
Of
it has its reasons, but the thing is, the only reason it can be there is because you keep maintaining it through ignoring the fact that you are in the coffin first.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And once you understand that this is the necessary order, well, also like puts in perspective when people remember in the suttas when they hear the Buddha and they get a glimpse of what he's actually saying and they freak out. They fall on the ground, overwhelmed by anxiety, start screaming, well, they will kill me, they will crush me, they will destroy me. I am buried alive while I'm alive. As in my life is my burial, basically. I'm subjected to it.
My greatest fear is here right now.
Yeah. Oh, they will kill us, they will destroy us, they will make us. Yeah, exactly. Because you gratuitously assume the external of this within which you're fully enclosed, of your senses, of your body. How can you know external of your body? Right now, while we speak, your body is your coffin, basically. Yeah. And again, that's what Buddha said in different words. The entire universe is within this body. How can you conceive outside of my body? How is that even imaginable?
It's not.
Well, you can imagine it, because that imagination requires you to ignore the truth.
But
the necessary basis.
But that is a thought which is on the basis.
But even that thought, cannot really take you outside. It can just, again, whether you realize or not, you are in the coffin.
Yes.
That's the thing. So the only reason you experience fear on account of it is because you still refuse to give up these ridiculous, gratuitous views. That's why you suffer, not because you're in the coffin. You've always been in the coffin. Always. Fully enclosed within this body, and you are subjected to whatever that body gets subjected to. It's inconceivable for you to
avoid that.
Not partake in that nature. To avoid that.
So basically, accept that you are, whether you like it or not, stuck in a coffin. Yeah, that
you are secondary to the enclosure that your body provides. And whenever you think outside of this body, like, oh, this is wrong. No, you can think, but make sure that that thought does not imply as an actual outside of the body, because such thing is inconceivable. So, you will stop misconceiving it then. You will stop conceiving it.
Yeah.
That's what Buddha meant. It's by misconceiving
I guess
the matter, you provide a footing for the matter.
So mindfulness of the body, recognising the body as a sankhara for whatever it is I'm thinking, including this thought of outside this body.
Yeah.
That's how you
again
stop
any thought about outside
beyond
of the body is within the experience of this body being
it's on the
here.
basis of this body being here. Yeah.
When I think outside, that's already internal.
Yeah.
And that's exactly for somebody who's fully developed that, purified from all ignoring. The Buddha said, for an arahant, what is left is name and form externally that he can observe, and this conscious body, the container.
Yeah.
This conscious body, the container, and then within that container, there are things that are external, and there are things that are slightly less external, as in things that pertain to this body, and things that pertain to other bodies. But it's all within this conscious body as a basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when this conscious body breaks apart, for an arahant, that's nibbana. There is no more reappearing, with no more being. Well, again, it's not that you get recontained. You always remain in the same container of the five aggregates. That's the nature of a rebirth.
Yeah, okay.
Just remaining in the same container with different functional arrangement within the container, but it's still the same container. That's why you remember 1 lifetime, 500 lifetimes. The Buddha said, all you're remembering is these five aggregates. These five aggregates that you can see now.
Again, it's like this.
No outside to it. Doesn't matter how many eons have spent,
Yeah.
how many rebirths you've been through. No, inconceivable. If you think outside, that thought conceives outside in regard to inside.
Exactly. And everything there, everything inside, is of the nature of abrupt change.
Yes, because why? Because the container that you cannot get under, repossess, step outside, avoid, is fully subject to change. The sankhara is the container that determines your life, the possibilities in your life, the choices you make, you made, you're about to make. All of it, that container is not in your control.
Yeah.
Utterly, utterly inconceivable. And you thinking outside can only be done on the basis of being enclosed within this, and then you project, there must be outside. But you can never actually step outside. And the sooner you stop expecting that, the sooner you start practicing the Dhamma correctly. Because the way out is not digging the tunnel out, because there is no out. How can you dig a tunnel out of your own body?
No.
Inconceivable. The way out is not being bothered emotionally, not resisting the discomfort of that which is subjected to change. So the way out is to understand dukkha.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times we all read that?
Can you say it's the way out is to stop wanting to get out?
Yes,
Stop
if wanting
trying.
to get out means craving against what's currently felt unpleasantly. So it's good that you want to get out. What is not good is the way you choose to go about it. As in, there is an ignorant way and there is a non-ignorant way. But wanting to get out is what the Buddha meant. Craving is to be abandoned by the means of craving.
So it's not about getting out, but it's just about not
being bothered that you're enclosed.
Just in the slightest, not being.
And how do you arrive at that alternatively? How can you also develop that utter not being bothered by whether you live or die? The utter equanimity. Mindfulness of death. Why do you think he was so potent? That the Buddha said, very quickly you result in complete dispassion, or a bit of madness as well, depending on whether you were ready or not. Because that is the nature of things. You are fully enclosed.
Within death.
Within death. Within that you're subjected to disappear, which is what death is. So then everything you do in your life, unless it's dealing with that, is distracting you from it. It's just automatic. Even if you don't want to be distracted, if you're doing something on the basis of ignoring these natures of these things, necessary for my action to begin with, that's how you maintain your own ignorance, even if you don't want to. Because again, can you be, building a family, pursuing a job, career, being a monk, any of it, if you're not alive? If your life is to be taken away from you. Do you have any say in that? Can you have any say in it? You can only relatively protect it. But even that, you realize Like even the threats that you're subjected to, you can't even fathom that.
Yeah.
So you only have these projected ideas of threats, which means a projected idea of defending these threats. And that's already so far removed from what you're actually constantly, even while you are defending yourself, subjected to.
You kind of...
Can you tell your heart how to beat? When to stop, to beat faster?
Like
Yet, can you remain alive if that muscle in your chest stops beating?
No.
So all you need to do is not forget that whenever you're about to do something. Whenever you're about to make a choice. What's that going to result in is you will not be able to act out of passion, aversion, and desire for distraction. Because, again, distraction, act of distraction, is within the container now that you are not ignoring. Can you distract yourself if you were not there alive to begin with? Inconceivable. So even your means of escape, relative escape, are fully enclosed. So you're not you cannot escape anything. And that's why those people freaked out when they understood. Oh, inescapable. They will for sure, guaranteed, kill me, destroy me. Because I cannot conceive outside of this. Yet I've been going around as if I am outside. And that's where the Nietzsche is. So the reason why we kind of don't want to use permanent impermanent is because permanent impermanent is on the level of people's perceptions. Oh look, that's impermanent. No, it's on the level of the nature of things. Once people understand that, then you can translate it whichever way you want. But it must have that personal connotation, that undermining your sense of ownership.
Yeah.
And that's why then Sabha Sankara Anicca, Sabha Sankara Dukkha, Sabha Dhamma Anatta. Thus all things that I can engage with, take, leave, want, not want, all things cannot be mine, cannot be my own self, because they're undermined by the container that I cannot even conceive controlling. Because that's another thing you might wonder, like, okay, so you're not mindful of the body that's subject to these things, it's kind of, the extent of it is inconceivable to you, which means you're always secondary, you're always enclosed within it. What do I do next now? What you do next is, whatever you're about to do, make sure it doesn't distract you from what you already know. That's what you do.
Sort of like
that's why sense restraint is basically, although you don't know, sense restraint, restraining from sensuality, restraining from acting out of anger and so on, it's basically emulating the right behavior. Now, of course, just by emulating right behavior, you will not necessarily arrive at understanding, but without having been emulating it rightly, you certainly have no ground for understanding.
So it's kind of learning how to act.
Learning how to basically retailer your life so there are no underlying gratuitous assumption of the external sense of control, mastery, ownership. Oh, I don't partake in this. Yeah, we all die, but basically you don't feel yourself, you die. So how did the Buddha sum up the retailering of your life that would then remove these assumptions of external world outside of this coffin, and also remove any resistance to being in this coffin of this body, because you choose to get upset on account of it, because you choose to not give up those gratuitous external assumptions. How did the Buddha sum up that entire
various different ways, but
Noble Eightfold Path? Noble Eightfold Path means there will be nothing left unaddressed.
Right.
But it's all rooted in the same context, in the one understanding. That's why the right view comes first. The right view determines the whole Noble Eightfold Path is the right path. Right view being view free from Attavada. Attavada being assuming the external sense of self in regard to the experience as a whole.
Something outside of this experience. Something outside of the coffin.
And again, you don't need to say, okay, so that's a wrong thought. There's no such thing as a wrong thought. There's only wrong action on account of thought. So the thought that, there's the external, okay, allow it to endure. So the external to this experience as a whole. Can I even designate that for myself? Can I think about it? Can I have the vaguest notion of that external dimension in regard to my experience as a whole, if this experience as a whole is not there first.
Yeah. No.
So any notion of external that I have now,
Yeah.
and I'm allowing to endure, is always within.
Mind,
Yeah.
by.
This experience as a whole is always step beneath.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how far external I go, and that's what. Doesn't matter how far you travel in this universe, you'll never reach the end.
Yeah.
It's always going to be step ahead of you,
Yeah.
or step beneath you, whichever direction you want. You want the end of the universe. You know you won't reach it by traveling. You reach it by giving up that necessary basis for any direction you can take. Necessary basis of attachment to the body, ownership of the body, not seeing the anicca of the body, not seeing the body as sankhara, not understanding sankhara,
Not seeing it as uncontrollable, not seeing
Yeah.
it as inaccessible,
Yeah.
not seeing it as ownable.
Exactly. So if you want to stop assuming the external, you have to start seeing it against the peripheral context of internal. Not by denying, no, I shouldn't be thinking this. You are it. That's what Attavada is. That's what you are.
By internal, you mean like body? Or
Exactly. By that container.
Yeah. So that.
So the
necessary
notion of
basis-
external, you want to recognize. Don't try to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And certainly don't act out of it.
Yeah.
And you will be acting out of it whenever you act out of desire,
Yeah.
ill will, or
Greed,
distraction.
hatred, division,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's why those things are wrong, because they perpetuate the gratuitous, parasitic, wrong assumption.
Yeah.
That's it. So you don't act out of it, but you don't try to deny it either. You allow it to endure. So there is a genuine sense of, I'm external to this. I'm independent of this. So then take the sense of independence.
Yeah.
I'm independent to things that happen to me. I can choose, I can move left, I can move right, I can do this.
Yeah.
So how would that sense of independence then be described? Well, it's there, so you're not denying it.
It has something that has arisen thanks to the fact that there is this body here in the first place.
Exactly. So can you then have any sense of independence without this body?
No.
So is it then okay to look for the experience as a whole, anywhere else, except on the basis of this body?
No, the basic.
Can you conceive any experience except experience
except
on
for
the basis of your body?
Yeah,
Inconceivable.
that's why I think personally, sort of this notion of experience as a whole, for me, body, feeling, they kind of seem to get
That's
to
why
that.
I keep sort of going back to the mood, as in the general, the container basically,
If
the,
you've
the
got a
weather
sense
of
of the mood, there's nothing, there can't be anything
There's no outside
that
of
doesn't
it.
show up perhaps,
It's not outside of it. You are in that mood.
And everything is revealed.
You
on the
can
basis
you
of
can
that.
hope when the mood changes, it's going to be like this, it's going to be like this, but all of that is
But that
within.
hope is,
Exactly.
is based on that mood.
Even the slightest hope,
Yeah.
the slightest conceiving is then seen fully against within this context it's contained in.
Yeah.
And that's how you stop misconceiving.
Trapped.
You always were.
But that's the thing. But
Well, no, you're
it's
not
so much
trapped.
trapped. No, exactly.
Yeah.
So trapped
Yeah.
always implies I want to get out.
And always implies like, yeah, you were out before.
Yeah. It's just simply.
No, you cannot.
That's the nature of these things.
You're living within the trap,
Yeah.
but you don't necessarily need to be trapped.
Yes.
You get trapped when you choose to ignore. That's how you are trapped by the trap you have to live in.
Or
And
basically
that's the
not-
simile of the herd, the sutta, the bait.
The bait. Yeah. I mean, is it like? Could you say also just not fighting? The kind of nature thing.
In a way, yes, but see, people can do that on
I
the pretext
see.
of fighting.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, just accept everything, just be here now.
Yeah.
Why? Because I want to
Because I
get
want to
rid
get
of
rid of
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That it's important where it's rooted, not like, okay, it's important what you do, of course,
Yeah.
but what you do, what you're doing, whether that will be helpful or unhelpful, skillful or unskillful, is whether it's rooted in you acting out of craving or not.
Yeah.
Whether you're trying to get rid of things that displease you or not. So truly you can say you will stop being trapped, you will stop being bothered by living in the trap, you will be unable to be careless in regard to trap if you remove craving in regard to presently enduring mood. Trying to change the unpleasant mood, trying to change pleasant mood for more pleasant mood, trying to change unpleasant mood for less unpleasant mood. And trying to change the neutral mood for anything to feel, just not nothing, because that's too frightening. Just give me some form of distraction or excitement, whatever.
Yeah. So craving, which she says is origin of suffering,
Mm.
and the most kind of direct
Yeah.
description, is basically this sort of underlying, like wanting these things which are the nature to change.
Say it again, from the start.
So craving
Yeah.
is wanting these things which are the nature to change. You
Pretty
want
much.
these things to change
Yeah. Because
because
they're
you've
subjected to change.
You've already been
Mm.
affected by
change. Their
their
change.
change.
Yeah.
You've been bothered by
Yeah.
their nature, which has nothing to do with you.
So that's why you accept their nature.
And then by accepting their nature, which is to change, you stop wanting them to change.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But that's pretty much the root of every motivation that an ignorant mind would do.
Which is wanting something to change.
Yeah.
That your action is, in fact, that is action, isn't it? Action is wanting things to change.
Exactly. Always.
Yeah.
Always. Always. Good action or bad action.
Yeah.
And why do you want things to change? Because they've changed.
Because they've changed. Because they've changed in a way that I don't like.
Which is always.
Yeah.
See, when they change for better, you want more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
When they change for worse, you want less.
Yeah.
Either way, you want
Yeah.
on account of change.
Yeah.
And what is it? What is it that you could possibly want? Oh, that's another change.
Yeah. And so all you're doing
It's because of the change I suffer, and in return to free myself from suffering, I run back straight into the change.
is, yeah.
That's a definition of a bait. You get hooked, and because you're hooked, you get hooked even harder because you just full on, like resisting it, rejecting it, and each time you do that, the hook gets deeper and deeper.
And the only way to release yourself from the hook
Is to stop resisting the things on that peripheral level, on the level of sankhara, on the level of determinations, on that level of giving where you recognize that you have no control,
or recognizing that this,
or on the level of that nature, as the Buddha
Yeah.
would say.
or can we say, no matter how much I resist this now,
Hmm.
which I'm doing, that is fully enclosed within this
Sure.
more,
By developing this passion in
general-
regard to your own craving.
yeah,
Yeah, you can do like that as well. Realizing that doesn't matter if I go, if I don't, if I say yes, if I say no,
doesn't make any difference.
cannot step outside of it.
Yeah.
Thus you regain the perspective.
Yeah.
Outside of what? Outside of this thing that I'm attending right here, right now.
Yeah.
I stop assuming stop conceiving the genuine existence of the outside of this which can only be known on the basis of this inside I'm enclosed with.
Yeah.
On a most practical level, you cannot experience anything
Changing
outside
the
of your body.
changing the order of things.
Engaging with things on account of like whatever your desires, it's your body that engages with them. And your thought of the world outside of your body is a thought that's within this body. Nobody says it's a wrong thought. Well, it's a wrong thought if it misconceives the right order. But otherwise it's just a thought of outside, which I now know is fully within this body. So when you are gripping something with your hand, what is your experience there? Are you actually accessing the matter of this thing you're touching? Or you just have the experience of your body touching something? See, even notion of something applies a certain
Yeah, yeah.
external world. How can you even know that
Yeah, yeah.
without this basis of the body?
Yeah,
So that doesn't mean everything is in my mind. It means everything is within the relationship of body and the mind.
So it's funny, like even like in the suttas it says like, you know, the eye and sights and the ear and sounds, and I guess that kind of, you can okay, so there's the body over here and then there's those things that are separate.
Yeah. But again, the suttas don't actually say that.
No.
But what because of people's views, they end up having that conclusion.
Yeah.
The suttas say sights, eyes and sights, and then consciousness
Yeah.
come together.
Yeah.
So eyes and sights are on one level,
Yeah.
share the same level.
Yeah.
It's not eyes in here, sights on the other level out there.
Yeah.
Eyes and sights and corresponding consciousness comes, and that's why one is pressured by sights. So sights are on the level of your eyes are on the level of the sights. And usually because of the wrong view that people assume eyes are in me, sights are outside, another assumption of outside,
Mm-hmm.
you have to reverse it.
Mm-hmm.
So you find that sights are within the eyes that are in you. How can you know sights? How can you imagine sights? How can you even fantasize about sights if you've never had eyes?
Exactly.
Inconceivable.
Can't do that.
Utterly inconceivable. Yet here you are, thinking you can access all these sights independent of your eyes.
So anything that you can imagine visible is
Requires the
always
necessary
through-
basis
always
of
through
the
eye.
body.
Yeah.
That's what the Buddha said, the entire universe, literally you travel to different cosmos.
Yeah, yeah.
It's still within the body. You
And-
cannot step
yeah.
outside of this body.
And it can only be in those 6 domains.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. That's
There's-
if you want to look
like-
at the aspects of that one unit of the body,
Yeah, yeah,
is one unit, one base of
Yeah.
the 6 senses.
yeah, yeah.
So then the thought of outside is now seen against the backdrop of fully enclosed within this body. And when you start seeing it like that, there will be no more basis for a notion of I am outside independent of this experience as a whole. Means there will be no more Atavada.
And yeah, I was just thinking that that body is anicca. It's like it's just I've been subjected to it. It's
You're subjected to that which is abrupt, uncontrollable.
Yeah.
Like you can't repossess it from its roots. You can't tell it to be like this or not age or not die, and you just can't. Inconceivable. So just don't forget that as the ultimate context whenever you're about to act, speak, or think.
and whenever you're acting, speaking, and thinking, it's not like you're denying that. It's just including that within that broader context.
Exactly. That's what I mean. You think against this backdrop means the context remains despite of your actions and your thoughts.
Yeah. So as you keep saying, it's about establishing a context,
Always. That's what the right view is. The right context.
the right context.
Yeah.
And you until that context is unshakable, because nothing can't not be included in it.
Exactly.
Everything
And that
has to be
context is
included by-
unshakable is when you yourself stop shaking it through your carelessness.
Yeah.
He was always unshakable. That's what
Right.
Buddha said. Our consciousness was always pure.
Yeah. Right.
You can't really corrupt things.
Yeah.
Only ignoring that, not knowing that through your ignorance, that's what corruption is
You
there.
corrupt it. Yeah.
So whether it's the mood, whether it's the body, literally, it's a presently enduring context in regard to anything, including this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, so like next time I think about the outside, these thoughts are within the
read
present
this.
enduring mood.
Yeah.
Can imagine outside of that mood. I can imagine before or after. I can imagine moving within it.
But
Can
all
I
of
imagine
that-
outside of
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Can I imagine me being first, mood being second? Inconceivable.
Yeah.
Think about it. The more you think about it, the clearer it will become. The more significant that context will be.
Yeah.
The more easily accessible that context will be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which means the better mindfulness of it
Yeah.
will be established. To the as Buddha said in that Satipatthana, or he develops mindfulness to the extent necessary, or he develops context to the extent necessary for final knowledge, as in for the knowledge that cannot pervert the order with gratuitous assumption anymore.
Mm.
Take second to be the first and first to be the second.
Mm.
Take outside to be the inside and inside to be outside. Inconceivable.
Mm.
Because you develop the context that been including everything sufficient amount of time.
Mm.
Any thought, any movement, what if, any doubt. That's again,
Mhm.
free from Atavada means free from doubt.
Mhm.
Because you can doubt the content, you can't doubt the present nature of enduring doubt.
Mhm.
So the content of the doubt, what, it's because
But the
there is a
nature-
doubt enduring there.
Yeah.
So that doubt cannot take you outside, doesn't matter how much you think. So that's what I mean, instead of focusing on clarifying the content of your doubt,
Yeah.
just focus on including its nature within the necessary basis of the five aggregates, within the necessary basis of presently enduring mood, within the necessary basis of presently given body there.
So not ignoring the context that has manifested.
Yeah. So then you're perfectly capable of enduring doubt and not suffering on account of it, and certainly not falling back to the wrong view. Wrong view means wrong assumption. Wrong assumption means perverted order.